Hi folks, I'm Joe Pignato, Boso endorser, drummer for Adam 3, and professor of music at the State University of New York, Oneonta. I'm here today in the Boso Groove Shop to share some pointers on using odd-numbered rhythmic groupings and single-double stroke combinations to develop stick control, create syncopated fills, and create odd-time linear grooves. To get started, I wanted to introduce a basic system of rhythmic solfege derived from the Indian rhythmic syllables known as socatul or conical. The ones we're using today are basic versions of those syllables, similar to those often used in elementary music education. However, when applied to some basic sticking patterns like single and double strokes, paradiddles, or others you might be familiar with, those syllables can help you expand your playing by allowing you to sing or articulate rhythms, and in some cases, fairly complex rhythms. So let's get started. So let's consider the basic syllabic units of this system of singing rhythms. The first syllable, which is the most basic, is simply ta, and you use ta to mark a pulse, just the way you would use your bass drum or counting 1, 2, 3, 4 to mark a quarter note pulse. You can use ta. Ta, 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 ta. You can subdivide ta into two syllables, taka, 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 much the way eighth notes subdivide a quarter note pulse. To create a grouping of three, you simply add another syllable. Now, as I said earlier, traditionally, these syllables are used to divide a pulse just the way we use counting in Western music notation. So, if we put together a three, we've got taka, ta, taka, ta, taka, ta, taka, ta, taka, ta. Let's review those first three. Just the way you play quarter notes, eighth notes, and triplets. You guessed it. The next one is similar to 16th notes. Okay? It's a grouping of four that subdivides the pulse ta, and it involves one extra syllable. So instead of takata, you can count four by singing takadimi, 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 takadimi. And you can continue to add syllables using this system. So for example, if you wanted to play 5, you could do a 2 and a 3, taka, taka, ta, taka, taka, ta, taka, taka, ta, and you get a really nice 2, 3, 5 pattern against a quarter note pulse. Taka, taka, ta, taka, taka, ta, taka, taka, ta. And you could also take that same pattern, taka, taka, ta, taka, taka, ta, and you can put accents in it, and we'll do that a little bit later when we consider how you might use some of these as fills around the drum set. But for example, taka, taka, ta, taka, taka, ta, taka, taka, ta, taka, taka, ta. And if you wanted to make it 3-2, and you continue mixing and matching as you see fit. A 6, well, you could do a 6 any number of ways. You could do a 6 as 2 3s, or you could do it as a 4 and 2, or any other combination. I have a chart with all of the combinations up through 7, and it gives you the syllables, and it'll help you see the syllables in a traditional rhythmic chart that shows ta as the pulse, and then all the subsequent subdivisions. But we're going to do something a little different. We're not going to use them as subdivisions the way they're traditionally used. We're going to use them to create odd groupings in sequence that allow us to play stick control exercises, that allow us to play syncopated fills with really great accent patterns, and that allow us to play linear grooves on the drum set. So instead of thinking of those rhythmic syllables as subdivisions of a pulse, use them to count groupings of equal valued notes. For the purposes of our demonstration, let's imagine they're all 16th notes. Let's try putting the first together. Ta is the single unit, and taka is the double unit. If we put them together, we get something that sounds like triplets. Not so interesting. You know how to warm up with triplets. You can do it alternating your single strokes, or you could do it mixing a single stroke, say right, with a double stroke, left, something like this. In which case you're not alternating, you're starting with one hand or the other as the initial note of the triplet. Where it gets interesting is when you start to mix the 3 or the 2 with other groupings. So for a moment, let's take a 3 and let's mix it with a 4. Takadimi is the 4, and we thought earlier about takadimi as the equivalent of 16th notes subdividing a coordinate pulse. Let's imagine all of the groupings as 16th notes. If we put together the takata, the 3, and the takadimi, the 4, and we count them or sing them equally, we get a really cool 7-stroke pattern that we can do a lot of different things with. Takadimi, takata, takadimi, takata, takadimi, takata, takadimi, takata, takadimi, takata, takadimi, takata, or we could do it as a 3-4. Takata, takadimi, takata, takadimi, takata, takadimi, takata, takadimi. And we can play that 3-4 or 4-3 combo using alternating sticking, of course, or we can do things like mixing and matching single, double stroke combinations and paradiddles like the ones we just went over. So if we played the triplet as a single, double stroke combination, followed by a paradiddle, we get a warm-up that sounds like this. Takata, takadimi, takata, takadimi, right, left, left, right, left, right, right, left, right, right, left, right, left, left, and you alternate ad infinitum. You can group all the syllables in endless combinations, and you can come up with 5, 7, 9, 11, and 13 stroke combinations that reflect your own style, but also help you develop stick control, create really cool syncopated fills, and develop your own linear grooves for drum set. Let's consider some stick control exercises. So you can practice the 7 in the ways that we just discussed, but you can also take other groupings. For example, you can take a 4, takadimi, and mix it with a 5, takatakata, and you get a really cool 9-stroke pattern. Just like with the 7, you can mix and match the sticking. You can use alternated sticking, or you can use a combination of alternating sticking and paradiddles. If we do a 4 as a paradiddle and alternating sticking on a 5, we can count it first as takadimi, takatakata, takadimi, takatakata, and we can play it like this. And we get this really cool kind of percolating, syncopated rhythm. And those combinations are great things to introduce into your warm-ups and into developing your stick control. You could do a 4, a 3, and a 4 to come up with an 11. I'm going to use a paradiddle, a triplet, and a paradiddle, and come up with this. And those are just great things that I like to do to get my hands going, to warm up, and as I said, to develop stick control. You can use the same patterns to create really cool syncopated fills. So for example, if you put together that 11 and you put together an additional 5, you've got 16 syncopated notes. If you treat them as the same value, that's 16 16th notes in 4/4. Something like this. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. You could drop that fill anywhere in any 4/4 music without it sounding like an odd time pattern, because it's not. It's just a subdivision of 4 beats of 4 in 16th notes, where you're playing all the 16 notes equal, but because you're using these odd groupings, 4, 3, 4, and 5, you get these really cool percolating patterns. And the combinations and the patterns you come up with will reflect your own style, your own taste, and you can eventually apply them to the drum set to create linear grooves in odd time. So let's consider a few of those possibilities. So if you take the odd time groupings that we used earlier as syncopated fills and as stick control exercises, you can actually apply them to the set to create really cool linear grooves. Let's take the 7 we did earlier. Takadimi, takata, takadimi, takata. We could play that like this. Or we could add the snare. The possibilities are really, as I've been saying all along, up to you. They're limitless, however you mix and match them. I like to play an 11 pattern, takadimi, takata, takadimi, and I use it as sort of open-handed approach, and I get something that sounds like this. And you can freestyle and have some fun. Good luck to you. It's been a pleasure spending some time with you, and I hope to see you again in the Boso Groove Shop. Take care.